Hidden potential. The galactic hegemony had existed for over 15,000 years, a coalition of advanced species that governed the interstellar community with protocols established long before humans had even discovered electricity. At the center of this political web sat the Arthans, a species that had evolved from crystalline-based life forms, whose biology granted them lifespans measured in centuries and minds, capable of processing information at speeds that made human thought seem glacial by comparison. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the viewport of Lunar Base Alpha, watching Earth rotate serenely below. Her dark eyes reflected the blue-green planet as she absently twisted the end of her braid, a habit she'd never managed to break even after 20 years in Earth Defense Command. "They're here," Lieutenant Park announced from behind her, his voice tight with tension. Elena turned as the main screen activated, showing the approach of an Arthan vessel. Unlike human ships with their utilitarian designs, the alien craft resembled a massive dragonfly carved from living opal, its hull shifting with iridescent patterns that seemed to flow like liquid light. "Right on schedule," she replied, straightening her uniform. "Let's give our esteemed visitors the welcome they expect." The Arthan delegation arrived with the ceremonial pomp they always demanded. Ambassador Thixlaw led the group, his crystalline body towering over the humans present. His translucent form contained swirling patterns of light the humans had learned represented emotional states, though few could interpret them accurately. "Commander Reyes," the ambassador's voice resonated through the chamber, a sound like wind chimes that required translation devices for human ears. "We are pleased to conduct the annual evaluation of Earth's progress." Elena bowed with the precise degree of deference the protocols required. "The United Earth Government welcomes the hegemony's attention." 3 hours later, Elena sat in a secured conference room 50 meters below the lunar surface, her patience wearing thin as the Arthan inspection team catalogued Earth's technological developments with barely concealed condescension. "Your fusion drives remain adequate," Thixlaw noted, examining the schematics Earth had provided, "though your efficiency rates have improved only marginally since our last evaluation." "We've focused on reliability over raw power," Elena replied, the practiced lie coming easily after years of these inspections. "A wise choice for a Category 4 species," the ambassador said with what passed for a sympathetic gesture. "Technological progress must be measured, controlled. Many young species destroy themselves by advancing too quickly." "We appreciate the hegemony's guidance," Elena said, the words tasting bitter. After the Arthans departed for their assigned observation post on Mars, Elena descended to Sublevel 8, a facility whose existence wasn't included in any official documentation shared with the hegemony. Her palm print and retinal scan opened a series of doors leading to a conference room where 12 people waited. Director Zhang, head of the Phoenix Initiative, looked up as she entered. "How did our crystalline friends enjoy their tour of the museum exhibits?" Elena smiled, a genuine expression for the first time that day. They were suitably unimpressed. The mock-up fusion drives in particular received their usual criticisms. "Excellent," Zhang replied. "The last thing we need is their actual interest." The holographic display in the center of the table activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of the solar system with dozens of locations highlighted in blue. "The Dark Matter Project remains on schedule," reported Dr. Kato, their head of propulsion systems. Phase 3 testing was completed last month at the Neptune facility. The drives are now operating at 400% of projected capacity. Elena studied the display. "And the stealth systems?" "Better than expected," answered Colonel Miki, security chief. "The quantum signature masking works perfectly. As far as the Arthans can detect, we're still struggling with basic helium-3 fusion technology." Director Zhang tapped on the table, zooming the display to show a massive structure hidden beneath the lunar surface, less than 2 kilometers from where the Arthans had just conducted their inspection. "The Artemis is complete," Zhang announced. "The first of the Phantom Fleet, ready for deployment when needed." Elena examined the schematics of the ship. Nearly a kilometer in length, The Artemis represented 15 years of secret development, a vessel whose technologies violated at least 6 different hegemony restrictions on developing species. The other vessels, she asked. 11 more capital ships nearing completion, John replied, plus the support craft, all hidden in deep asteroid mines, beneath the ice of Europa, or in subterranean facilities on Earth itself. Elena nodded, satisfaction and tension warring within her. For 60 years since first contact, humanity had played the role of the grateful newcomer to galactic society. They had accepted their Category 4 status, which limited them to their home system and restricted their technological development. Publicly, Earth followed these limitations to the letter. Privately, they had never accepted them. The emergency alert came 3 weeks later, waking Elena from a rare deep sleep in her quarters. The holographic display beside her bed showed Admiral Chen, his face grim. New Damascus outpost is under attack, he reported without preamble. 3 Alvarian warships dropped out of FTL an hour ago and opened fire without warning. Elena was fully alert instantly. Alvarians. They're hegemony members. They shouldn't be attacking us. Apparently someone forgot to tell them. Chen replied bitterly. The outpost had minimal defenses. 200 civilians, mostly scientists and their families. Casualties. Unknown. We lost contact after the initial distress call. Elena dressed quickly as they spoke. Have we contacted the Hegemony Council? Ambassador Williams is trying, but they're convening to discuss the matter. While our people die, Elena finished. What about our response? The Third Fleet is mobilizing, but they're 4 days out even at maximum burn. The outpost will be ash by then. Elena made a decision. Admiral, I need you to delay the Third Fleet's departure by 6 hours. Cite mechanical issues. Chen's eyes narrowed. Commander, I need time to consult with Director Zhang, she said carefully. There may be alternatives. Understanding dawned on Chen's face. The Phoenix Protocol. Elena nodded once. Possibly. Stand by. 2 hours later, Elena stood with Director Zhang and the Phoenix Initiative leadership in the Phantom Fleet's command center beneath the lunar surface. The room hummed with activity as operators prepared for what might become the most consequential moment in human history. The Alvarians are strip mining the asteroid, reported Lieutenant Park, monitoring the feed from a stealthed probe near New Damascus. They've herded the survivors into the central habitat. Why would the Alvarians risk attacking the hegemony-protected species? Dr. Cato wondered. Because the Arthans told them to, John replied, his voice hard. This is a test. They're pushing to see how we respond. Elena studied the tactical display. And if we respond with only our officially recognized capabilities, we lose, John finished. The outpost, the people, and likely our access to the outer system resources. This is the beginning of a squeeze play. The Hegemony Council claims they're investigating, Colonel Mbeki reported from his communication station. They recommend we exercise restraint while diplomacy proceeds. Elena looked at Zhang. We've prepared for this moment for decades. Are we ready? Zhang's expression was solemn. The Artemis is fully operational. 3 additional Phantom ships can be activated within the hour. The rest would take days to bring online. The moment we reveal the Phantom Fleet, everything changes, Elena said. There's no going back. Those are our people dying out there, Zhang replied simply. Elena turned to the command center staff. Initialize the Artemis. Prepare for emergency deployment. And activate the dark matter protocol. Across the solar system, hidden facilities came to life as encrypted signals flashed through quantum networks undetectable to hegemony sensors. On Earth, key military and political leaders received alert notifications for a scenario they had rehearsed, but hoped would never come. Beneath the lunar surface, the massive launch bay doors of a facility that officially didn't exist began to open for the first time. Message from Earth Central Command, Lieutenant Park announced. President Okafor has authorized Phoenix Protocol. We are go for deployment. Elena took her position at the command station. Artemis status. All systems green, reported Dr. Cato. Dark matter drive charged and ready. Weapons, graviton lance, and quantum disruptors online. Colonel Mbiki confirmed. Defensive systems activated. Elena took a deep breath. Prepare for departure. Our mission is to rescue the New Damascus survivors and neutralize the Alvirian threat. Minimal force if possible, but the safety of our people comes first. As the Artemis rose from its hidden lunar berth, Elena thought about the decades of deception that had led to this moment. The careful charade of technological limitation. The secret development programs hidden in plain sight, all while the Arthans watched with their crystalline eyes, believing they saw everything while seeing only what humans wanted them to see. The Alvirians were about to learn a painful lesson about underestimating humanity, and the galaxy was about to discover that humans did not accept being categorized, restricted, or controlled. The Phantom Fleet was about to cast off its shadows. Unveiling the fleet, Captain Cirrus of the Alvirian warship Dominant Claw watched his crew efficiently process the human outpost. Their raid had gone perfectly. The primitive defense systems had fallen within minutes. The human population corralled with minimal casualties. The asteroid's rare mineral deposits would soon belong to the Alvirian Syndicate. Status of the mining operation. He asked his second-in-command. Proceeding on schedule, Captain. Extraction will be complete within 12 hours. Cirrus clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. And the humans? Contained in the central habitat, they will be processed according to hegemony protocols, which meant categorized as displaced persons and relocated to another human facility if they behaved. Those who resisted would suffer accidents during transport. The Arthans preferred clean records. Sir, the sensor officer's voice carried an unusual note of confusion. I'm detecting an anomalous reading approaching from the inner system. Cirrus turned, irritation flashing through his compound eyes. Earth defense vessels. Negative, Captain. This signature doesn't match any known human ship. The officer adjusted his instruments. In fact, I cannot get a clear reading at all. There's something interfering with our sensors. Cirrus moved to the tactical display. Show me. The screen revealed only a blurry distortion, a shadow moving against the stars at impossible speed. Distance. Uncertain, Captain. The readings are inconsistent. A ripple of unease passed through Cirrus's exoskeleton. The Arthans had assured them that human technology was primitive, their defenses negligible. Contact the support vessels. Move to defensive formation. Prepare. The ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring across the command deck. What was that? Cirrus demanded. Unknown, Captain. Something just appeared, 300 kilometers off our port bow. The tactical display finally resolved to show a vessel unlike anything Cirrus had ever seen. Black as the void itself, its surface seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Nearly a kilometer in length, its sleek, predatory design bore no resemblance to the boxy, utilitarian craft that characterized human engineering. Is that human? His second-in-command whispered. Before Cirrus could respond, his communication officer called out, "We're being hailed." Elena Reis's face appeared on the main screen, her expression cold as interstellar space. Alvirian vessels, this is Commander Elena Reis of the Earth vessel Artemis. You have attacked a sovereign human outpost, killed our citizens, and violated hegemony protocols. You will power down your weapons, cease all mining operations, and prepare to surrender your vessels. You have 2 minutes to comply. Cirrus stared at the human in shock before recovering his composure. This is Captain Cirrus of the Dominant Claw. We operate with the full authorization of the Hegemony Council. Your presence here is a violation of Category 4 restrictions. Return to Earth immediately or face the consequences. The human's expression didn't change. Your authorization is a lie, Captain, and you've gravely miscalculated what humans are capable of. Your time is running out. Cirrus turned to his weapons officer. Target that vessel and fire. The dominant claw's main batteries discharge, energy weapons designed to shatter asteroids lancing toward the human ship. The beams should have vaporized any vessel built with Category 4 technology. Instead, they dissipated harmlessly against an iridescent shield that flickered briefly before vanishing again. No effect, Captain, the weapons officer reported, mandibles clicking in agitation. Impossible. Ceres hissed. Increase power. Fire again. On the Artemis, Elena watched the Alvarian weapons disperse against their quantum barrier shields. Their 2-minute window has expired, Commander, Colonel Mbeki reported. Elena nodded. Deploy rescue teams to the habitat. Priority is securing our people. And the Alvarian vessels, disable their engines and weapons. Precise strikes only. Dr. Cato looked up from his station. The Graviton Lance has never been field tested against actual vessels, Commander. Then this will be an excellent test, Doctor. Elena's voice was steady. Target the dominant claw's propulsion systems. Minimal yield. The Artemis moved with a grace that defied its size, positioning itself between the Alvarian ships and the human habitat. From a recessed port along its ventral hull, a weapon emerged, not the crude plasma cannons the hegemony believed were humanity's pinnacle of achievement, but something far more sophisticated. Graviton Lance charge, reported the weapons officer. Fire. A beam of distorted spacetime, invisible except for the rippling effect it created as it passed through the vacuum, connected the Artemis to the dominant claw for a fraction of a second. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Alvarian ship's engine section crumpled as though crushed by an invisible hand, metal and composite materials folding in on themselves with surgical precision. Direct hit, Mbeki confirmed. Their propulsion and main power systems are offline. The two supporting Alvarian vessels, witnessing what had happened to their flagship, immediately began evasive maneuvers. Artemis, this is Rescue Team Alpha, came a transmission from the deployment shuttle. We've secured the habitat. 173 survivors accounted for. 28 confirmed casualties. Elena absorbed the news, grief and anger mingling behind her professional demeanor. Acknowledged, Alpha. Proceed with evacuation. One of the remaining Alvarian ships suddenly accelerated, weapons charging as it attempted to target the rescue shuttles. Phantom 2, you are cleared to engage, Elena ordered. From behind the shadow of the asteroid, a second vessel emerged, the Hermes, sister ship to the Artemis. It appeared directly in the path of the attacking Alvarian, its dark matter drive allowing it to transition from hidden observation to combat positioning without conventional acceleration. Captain Imani's voice came through the command channel. With pleasure, Commander. The Hermes fired a spread of quantum disruptors, energy weapons that targeted the atomic bonds of specific materials. The Alvarian ship's weapon systems simply disintegrated, leaving the vessel intact but defenseless. The third Alvarian ship promptly powered down all systems in surrender. As the rescue operation continued, Elena received an urgent communication from Earth. Commander, President Okafor's face appeared on her private screen. The Arthan High Council is demanding an explanation. They claim we violated every restriction placed on Category 4 species. Show them the footage of the Alvarian attack, Elena replied. 28 humans are dead. I have, the president said grimly. They express regret, but insist the Alvarians were within their rights to claim resources we weren't properly utilizing. They're demanding we stand down and surrender your unauthorized vessels immediately. Elena exchanged looks with Director Zhang. And if we refuse? They're dispatching an Arthan enforcement fleet. Estimated arrival. 16 hours. Zhang leaned into the communication field. Madam President, Phoenix Protocol was designed for this exact contingency. The Phantom Fleet remains our best leverage. President Okafor nodded slowly. Proceed with Phase 2, then. The Security Council has unanimously approved. It's time the hegemony learned who they're really dealing with. Throughout the solar system, hidden installations activated. Beneath the ice of Europa, Inside hollowed-out asteroids, in the clouds of Venus, and in the deep oceanic trenches of Earth itself, vessels of the Phantom Fleet emerged from concealment. The Hegemony observation post on Mars watched in bewilderment as their sensors suddenly detected ships appearing everywhere. Ships that had no right to exist according to their careful monitoring of human technology. Ambassador Thix's crystalline form pulsed with patterns of shock and alarm as reports flooded in. Dozens of vessels, then hundreds, each representing technology far beyond Category 4 limitations. Some appeared to be moving without conventional propulsion. Others displayed energy signatures that should have been impossible for humans to harness. How? He demanded of his science officer. How did they hide this from us? Unknown, Ambassador. Our monitoring networks show no record of these vessels' construction. The quantum communication array chimed, indicating a transmission from Earth. Thixla composed himself before accepting the call. President Okafor appeared, flanked by her Security Council. Ambassador Thixla, I trust you're receiving interesting sensor readings at the moment. The Arthan's lights pulsed in patterns of indignation. This is an unprecedented violation of hegemony protocols. Earth has deliberately concealed military development in direct contravention of your Category 4 status. About that, Okafor replied calmly. Earth no longer recognizes the hegemony's categorization system or the restrictions placed upon us. We are declaring ourselves a sovereign power with full rights to self-determination and technological advancement. Impossible. The enforcement fleet will. Will what, Ambassador? Face the same fate as the Alvarians if they attack our people. Okafor's expression hardened. For 60 years, we've played by your rules. We've endured your condescension, your restrictions, your guidance, all while building the means to ensure our freedom. The other hegemony species will never accept this, Thixla warned. You will be isolated, cut off from galactic society. Perhaps, Okafor conceded, or perhaps other species who've chafed under Arthan dominance will see another path forward. Thixla's crystalline form flashed with patterns that the translation system rendered as incredulity. You've been planning this for decades. Since the day you arrived and informed us of our proper place in the galaxy, Okafor confirmed. Humans don't accept cages, Ambassador. Not even gilded ones. 16 hours later, the Arthan enforcement fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. 12 crystalline vessels, each larger than any human ship except the Phantom Fleet's capital vessels, arranged themselves in attack formation. Elena stood on the bridge of the Artemis, now joined by 15 other Phantom vessels, forming Earth's first line of defense. They're hailing us, Lieutenant Park reported. On screen. Admiral Zexra of the Arthan Enforcement Fleet appeared, his crystalline form pulsing with threatening patterns of light. Human vessels, you will power down immediately and prepare for boarding. Resistance will result in your destruction. Elena met the alien's gaze steadily. Admiral, I suggest you look more carefully at your tactical display. You might be missing something. Confusion rippled through the Arthan's form. Then, as if on cue, 300 Phantom Fleet vessels decloaked, surrounding the Arthan formation in a three-dimensional web of overwhelming firepower. This is your only warning, Elena continued. The human solar system is sovereign territory. You are welcome as peaceful visitors, but any hostile action will be met with appropriate force. This is unprecedented, the Arthan Admiral sputtered. The Hegemony Council will not. The Hegemony Council is welcome to send representatives to Earth to discuss new terms for our relationship, Elena interrupted. As equals. 3 days later, Elena stood beside President Okafor in the United Earth Government's council chamber as representatives from the Hegemony arrived. The Arthans had agreed to negotiations, their certainty shaken by the revelation of humanity's hidden capabilities. Ambassador Thixla led the delegation, his crystalline form subdued. The Hegemony Council has reviewed your demonstration. We are prepared to discuss recognition of Earth's independent status. And the categorization system, Okafor pressed. A reclassification may be appropriate. Fixla conceded reluctantly. Not a reclassification. Okafor corrected. An abolishment, at least as it applies to Earth. We will not be categorized again. The negotiations continued for weeks, eventually resulting in the Treaty of New Geneva, a document that formally recognized Earth as a sovereign power with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. The hegemony's power wasn't broken, but it was irrevocably altered. As the galaxy adjusted to the new reality, Elena found herself standing once again at the viewport of Lunar Base Alpha, watching Earth rotate below. Director Zhang joined her, his expression thoughtful. "The Phantom Fleet is fully operational now," he said. "No more hiding." Elena nodded. "And already 3 other species have reached out about alliances. The Arthan's grip is loosening." Was it worth the deception? The years of playing technological infants. Elena thought about the 28 lives lost at New Damascus, the decades of condescension, the limitations imposed by a species that feared humanity's potential. "Yes," she said finally, "but I hope the fleet serves as a deterrent rather than a weapon. We've proven our point." Zhang smiled slightly. "That humans don't accept being underestimated. That, and something more important." Elena turned from the viewport to face the stars beyond. That the galaxy never expected humanity's capacity for patience, and now it's too late to put us back in our cage. Outside, the Artemis moved into view, its dark hull gleaming in the sunlight as it began its patrol of Earth's new frontier, not as a hidden secret, but as a symbol of humanity's rightful place among the stars.